the west side. You rockin' brown and orange with me, baby, let's ride. Represent the land, let them know. Tell them, here we go, Brownies, here we go. Yeah, here we go.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Here We Go Brownies podcast. I'm Molly Heiss. I'm coming to you live from Pensacola, Florida. Joining with me, as always, out in beautiful Cleveland, Ohio, we've got Dustin. A lot to get to today, but real quick, a word from our friends over at
Join the Dog Pound on the road this season with True Fan Travel, an official fan experience partner of the Cleveland Browns. Travel to stadiums across the country with other Browns fans and experience the games like never before. This trip includes everything: a private charter flight, hotel, an all-inclusive tailgate, game tickets, boat party, transportation, and more. Cheer on the Browns in New Orleans and party with Cleveland Browns legend Kevin Mack. Visit TrueFanTravel.com today and reserve your ultimate Browns travel package.
Dustin, how's it going? How you doing?
Allie, we're out here in Lakewood, Ohio, just west of downtown Cleveland with Coach Gregg Williams. Will be joining us here in a couple minutes. And I think I'm finally over that loss on Sunday. It's kind of out of my system. I'm going to be getting on a plane going to Vegas. We're going to be joining our friends from True Fan Travel down there for 3 days. And by the way, it's going to be 100 degrees every single day. So that's going to be a little crazy. But hey, that's Vegas, and it's September, so it's still hot down there.
Yeah, we got a lot coming at you tonight. We've got former Coach Gregg Williams joining us here in just a few moments. Lot to unpack. I'm excited to get his perspective on all things Cleveland Browns. Of course, later on in the program, the medical moment will be brought to you by our friends over at Lorella Vineyards with Dr. David Ullery, so stay tuned on that. We still have to talk about it. We still have some football to talk about. While I feel better about the loss, it's kind of put to bed, we still need to have a conversation. It still needs to happen. We still need to kind of just be done with it. How did you feel after watching Monday Night Football? We had the Bills absolutely just completely take it to who'd they play? Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. And then we had the Cincinnati Bengals lose to the rookie-led Washington Commanders by Jaden Daniels. What were your thoughts when you watched those two games?
Well, two thoughts. I think that the Buffalo Bills are the real deal this year. Yeah. Their quarterback play, their defense play, they're the real deal. And I think they're the probably toughest one right now against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs to dethrone them from being Super Bowl champions again. And, the Commanders are a sneaky, confident team right now. And I don't think the Browns are going to have an easy out in a couple weeks or a little over a week going out to play them, because I got to tell you, it's not going to be an easy out. And by the way, the Bengals being 0-3, that is a little shocking, but Stump was on, we did the Stump Talk podcast last night, and he talked about this. I think there's a chemistry issue in that Bengal locker room, and there's something that just isn't right. And I think there's some other things going on in that locker room. They're 0-3. It's going to be a tough hole to come out of. And, of course, we did see the Ravens won on the road. So this is kind of crazy where the division is. I don't think anybody saw the division being kind of in the state of it is right now.
Yeah. I mean, definitely not. We saw the Ravens come away with a win in Dallas. They're, now 1-2 on the season, but if you're a Ravens fan coming away with that kind of win, you're probably feeling somewhat optimistic, even though they're 1-2, we're 1-2. But Browns, we kind of have this dark cloud over us. So my question to you, and I want to frame this about the coaching staff, because I think that there's a lot of fingers to blame, right? There are a ton of fingers to blame. Deshaun Watson needs to receive a lot of it. The coaching staff needs to receive a lot of it. The front office, the offensive line, the receiver. I mean, I could rattle off the list, and I just did that. But my question to you is about Kevin Stefanski. Look, I have been very pro Kevin Stefanski on this show, as all of you know. I think he's a very good play caller. That is his bread and butter. That's what he's good at. But my question is, at what point do you stop being an offensive coordinator, and take over as a head coach? That's what this team needs. The team needs leadership. They are lacking an identity. They are lacking leadership from the coaching staff, from the front office, and on the field. At what point, does this team take a look in the mirror and say, hey, this isn't getting it done? Do you think Kevin Stefanski can put the playbook aside, and I'm not saying whether or not he's calling plays, but get his head out of the figurative playbook and go be a head coach and get this team out of what this I'm not even going to call it a slump, because it's beyond that. This just abyss that they're in. I think it's jarring. I think that this team lacks an identity. They lack a lot of leadership. They have to get back to basics. They are probably, Kevin is looking to do some very complex things. They need to go back to basics, fundamental football. Can Kevin get them there is my question.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really valuable point. And if you think about it, a quarterback is there a head coach is there to lead men, right? That's his whole purpose, is to lead men and be the manager of that game. To the point where I even saw, Coach Stefanski coaching on Sunday, and then you had Deshaun Watson over on the sidelines with the towel over his head. I want my quarterback right next to that coach, right? Like, hey, coach, what can we change? I'm listening, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. And I don't think you can do that when you're calling plays and you're trying to manage the team as well, right? That's a lot to deal with. And I know that Kevin Stefanski has been very reluctant to give up on play calling, but there has to be a time where you kind of have to kind of come within and say, okay, look, I have to do that. But again, I'm also of the belief, I don't know if Dorsey makes it more than one season. I personally don't think
somebody has to be the fall guy.
Yeah.
Somebody's paying for this
Right.
abysmal offense. Now, my point being, you mentioned Cincinnati and how they just don't have chemistry. I think the Browns are in a very, very similar situation where it's just clearly not right. And Kevin's above average scheme, or what we think is an above average scheme, isn't doing us any good right now. He needs to be a head coach. And I think, I'm not calling for Kevin Stefanski to actually stop calling plays. I'm just calling for a step up in leadership across the board.
Right. No, I agree. And you got to figure out at that point, does it have to wait till after the season's over, right? And then he just relinquishes that? Or do you say during the middle of the season, hey, I got to do this? But again, like I said, I don't know if Dorsey's going to survive this season based on the inept offense that's out there on the field right now. I just think that you're right. There's always a fall guy in that situation.
Whether it's offensive coordinator, general manager, head coach, quarterback. I mean, this offense is too good to be this bad, right? I mean, in a lot of ways, it's too good to be this bad. Somebody's going to have to take the fall.
Now I will asterisk that with injuries, right? We got David Njoku and some of these other guys got some pretty big injuries. Now, once all these guys get healed and they're back and everybody's healthy, I think then we can really say, okay, what is this offense doing, right? What are we doing here, right?
My pushback on that is, yes, I agree. Injuries play a role. We can't ignore that. But other teams are injured. The 49ers are injured. They're decimated. The Rams, the offensive line is decimated. But Matthew Stafford's still back there making plays. And he's out cup and poop and Nakua. I mean, who's he throwing the ball to? He's still out there making plays. So, yes, injuries do play a part in this, but they shouldn't be the crutch. You've got too good of a team offensively and defensively, and even special teams. Let's throw that in there. You've got too good of a team to be this bad.
Yeah, I agree. And, the offense is really the problem. And that was one thing that even Stump brought up on last night's show was literally, the defense is going to be fine, and the defense will probably win some football games for this team down the stretch. It's that offense that's just not clicking, and there's just something not right, and it needs to be fixed sooner than later. So I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah. Guys, if you don't have stadium mustard in your kitchen this season, you're doing it wrong. The iconic brand, the iconic taste is beloved from ballparks to backyards and everywhere in between. Stadium mustard is a smooth brown mustard, rich in both taste and tradition. It is loved by millions. Be sure to head on over to stadiummustard.com to shop now. And Dustin, before we bring on our guests, why don't you tell our listeners about Lady Caroline Cruise Ship, and then we'll also talk about Greater Cleveland Aquarium.
Yeah, Lady Caroline Cruise Ship. It's going to be great. I'm actually going to go out there Thursday night. Tomorrow night, I'm going to take a cruise and be able to show you some wonderful stuff on that cruise. They have a lot of cruises coming up. They have a Halloween cruise, some themed cruises, a lot of fun stuff. You can go for lunch, take an extra extended lunchtime, or you can go in the evening and do a dinner cruise. A lot of fun, 7 p.m. in the evening. But go check out Lady Caroline right down there, right downtown Cleveland.
Yeah. And what about Greater Cleveland Aquarium?
Well, the Cleveland Aquarium is amazing. We got some tickets to give away to the Cleveland Aquarium tonight, but the shark exhibit there, you can pet the stingrays. It's pretty cool. It's great for families, or if you just want a great date night, or you want to take the grandkids. It's just a great, cool experience. Takes you anywhere from about an hour and a half to do the whole thing, but really cool. A lot of different interactive things you can do with the family or your friends.
Yeah, there you go. There you have it. Well, let's bring him on. Let's bring on former coach Gregg Williams to the program.
Hello, hello, hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on.
No, thanks for taking the time for us. I don't think this conversation could come at a better time. When we put it out there that we were going to welcome you on, people just lost their minds. And so many people said, man, I just miss him. You know, he brought the energy. And I think, Coach, that's like
before we get started,
yes.
You know, I want to say something. I want to say, don't ask me a question that's going to hurt somebody's feelings, because I'm going to answer it honestly.
I know it. And you know what? That's what we appreciate. That's what we love. That's what we love. So let's open with this. You've seen how this has started for the Cleveland Browns so far through 3 weeks. We'll get into the nitty gritty, but just your kind of overall thoughts on this 1-2 football team.
I think right now they're a better football team than what the record shows right now. I think Andrew Berry, Kevin, everybody in-house has built a solid football team. Now, we're going to talk about all the injuries and all that kind of stuff but the depth behind those guys are all qualified. I think, you know, right now it's still early in the season. The AFC North, there's a lot of things going on in that division. Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh, you know, they're lighting things up, you know, with the 3-0 record, but the margin of victory and those things on how good a job Mike is managing the game and all that kind of stuff. You know, the AFC North is still okay. I do believe as we continue to grow as the season goes on, you know, the biggest thing that has to happen is again, you know, how we're going to fix the quarterback play and how we're going to make sure it's done in the right fashion so that it is a team win, not just an individual win. Defensively, I think they're going to continue to be lights out. And statistically, you know, they're already doing some really, really, really good things. So I think it's early in the season. You know, don't get everybody falling off the horse and all that kind of stuff right now. They're going to get back in the saddle. This week is a big game, and every week is a big game.
Yeah. One thing Kevin has been very good at, Coach Stefanski's been so good at throughout his time in Cleveland, is he doesn't typically lose multiple weeks in a row. Once they have a loss, they come back. They seem to be prepared from a coaching perspective. I want to get your opinion on this, or really if you can just paint the picture. When you do suffer a pretty big loss, an embarrassing loss like that, especially at home, what steps do you take throughout the week to kind of right the ship and not only get things looking right and kind of falling back to your fundamentals, but also to relay that message to the players of, hey, like, you know, we still believe in you. This is still going to be okay. How do you manage that?
Well, the biggest thing is every single meeting, every single practice, every single, you know, voice that's being heard is about winning at all times. You got to win the meeting. You got to win the walkthrough. You got to win the practice. You got to win, you know, the situation. You have to do that. And getting back on track, okay, starts immediately as soon as the game is over. Now, let's talk about this real quick, and we can do it more, is that the mark of the championship teams are the ability of coaches and players to make changes during the game. And that's the number one thing that I've got to see start happening at a better rate here, is that adjustments that are taking place during the game. And as you see the teams that are out there already doing that, you know, and I think Mike Tomlin is one of those guys, you know, you're not going to surprise him with different things. He has the ability, okay, with his staff that have been together for quite a while, with the new Arthur Smith coming in. But I don't know if you know the stupid person that gave Arthur Smith his chance to coach first. His first coaching job was me, okay? But I love that Arthur is doing a good job managing the skill set of the players there at Pittsburgh. That's what has to happen here too. And I know Kevin does a good job with that, and it started as soon as they walked in the building today.
Question for you, Coach. A lot was been made of this week of the defensive players going and celebrating, doing their hoopla and all that, while there's a huge penalty happening in the game and a costly penalty that would have made it 14-0. Does that drive you insane as a coach to see that? And how do you fix that to be like, look, it's not about celebrating. It's about, we got to fix it.
Hey, it's important to have fun. It's important to celebrate. It's important to do all that type of stuff. And that was a big play. They probably they didn't even know the penalty occurred. Okay, probably. I don't know for a fact on that. But, one of the things, Jim Schwartz, who was an assistant with me too, and growing up in the league and all that kind of stuff, is that, he enjoys the fact that guys are celebrating on defense because it's a good defense now. Statistically, everything, they're a good defense. And he made some great adjustments at halftime on how they came out and played the second half. But that kind of stuff there with all the happy celebrations, you would have seen me down there with them and breaking all of them up and sending them up in the stands to sell beer.
I got some of that ready to go. I mean, one thing that's apparent is, with this defense, they're where they need to be. They just haven't executed on some of these turnovers. When we go back to your time in Cleveland, that was one thing that was always a point of emphasis was the turnover. Now, these guys seem to be in the right positions. They're doing the right things. There's guys that are stepping up, like Ronnie Hickman, who is an undrafted free agent. He's playing really good football. And then Miles, you can't control how fast a quarterback gets rid of the ball. But in terms of actually generating these turnovers, do you think that that's something we're going to see start, as an uptick? And I guess another question on that is, were you specifically coaching to force the turnovers, or was that just because the guys were in the right place?
Every single day, it's about find ball, see ball, get ball. Don't want to make a big time correction with you, but stop calling it turnovers. On defense, it's takeaways. We take the ball away. It's our ball, not your ball. It's our blade of grass. It's our stripe on the field. And a home stadium, it's ours. So yes, every single time we make a tackle, it's about taking the ball away and possessing the ball and be the top team in scoring defense. Now, with all that being said and done, I've had the opportunity at 4 different times to coach defenses in different areas of the National Football League to where we are number 1 in the league ever and during a season on scoring the most touchdowns on defense. And we've tied with, the tying record. We never had it, and it irritated that we never just cleaned out and just got it all done. But that's important on taking the ball away, providing field position, and every single time it's not just about managing down and distance. It's about taking the ball away.
Go ahead, Dustin.
Yeah. So, Greg, as we look at, like Ali was saying, we saw how the Schwartz adjusted in the second half against the Giants. You move on the road, and I asked Stump this question last night, and I think I'll ask you as well. When you have a huge loss like that at home, and the media is all on top of you, and all, they say they shut out the outside noise, but they don't, right? They hear some of it. Is it good to go on the road? Is it good to kind of get out of town and go on a road game where you can just focus on football and get back to the fundamentals and get that big road win? Is that
sometimes it is, the other thing is that in professional sports, especially at the top of the world, if you get your feelings hurt because of those type of things, what makes you think that you're a tough guy inside the white lines? You have to be able to block that out. You have to be able to shut out noise, okay, so that your mind is dominant and looking another grown man in the eyes and making and imposing your will and doing what you're supposed to be doing in this game. Now, one of the things a lot of people don't realize is when you do go on the road and play, it is a situation to where there's more communication balance for the defense because the home team crowd is taught not to be vocal to disrupt their own offense. So defensively, the communication that goes on, there is more communication verbally that goes on throughout eye contact, hand signals, and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes, okay, for some of these sensitive young men out there, socially entitled, maybe it is a chance to keep their mouth shut and not look on social media and go on the road and play better. Whatever it takes for you to play at the top of your game, that is your responsibility in professional sports.
It's a great point. One thing that we were just talking about before you came on was leadership and how this team right now seems to be lacking a little bit of an identity and lacking a little bit of leadership. on the field, from what we can see anyways with the coaching staff, it's hard to tell. I mean, we're not out there. We don't know them. But my question to you is, what was it like going from being a coordinator to being thrust into the head coach position? Because what my point was, Kevin has been, an above average play caller in the NFL. He's been really good at it. That's been his bread and butter. But right now, this team needs some leadership. They need somebody to step up on every level. What was it like for you to take that jump?
Well, the big thing is and it took a while to understand it. It took a while for, me to go to be the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. Learned a lot of things there, and a lot of the different things that were going on there is when the salary cap hit and all that kind of problems that were going there. But being a head coach, it's very, very, very difficult to be the play caller and be the head coach during that situation. I'm just letting you know, when I took over here in game one or in game two, I think it's game one, is that I continued to call the plays. But you know what? I can't be the overall leader that needs to be made to be able to be offense, defense, special teams, and everything. You know what? You have your headset on. You can still assist in calling the plays, but you don't have to have the chart in your head and go on play to play to play. That's when I immediately turned the defensive coordinator play calling over to my son, Blake Williams, that was the linebacker coach and everything, and been a coordinator at the NFL and college levels and all that kind of stuff. And we played significantly better because the communication process from me that starts with me got better because I'm not overloading, the things that I'm in charge of. That is something. And again, it has to come from Kevin first. Kevin has to make that decision, and how you surround yourself with qualified people to do that job. But understand you're still involved in the headset and can override or be involved as much as you want to, but it gives you freedom to be the head coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go ahead, Dustin.
Coach, as you look, we talked about preparation, and this is a big, important game. What adjustments, like from the eyeball test that you watch, obviously you watch the Browns games on Sunday, if you're on that defensive side of the ball, Schwartz does a pretty good job of adjusting. What kind of glaring things on offense do you think that kind of need to be fixed? Obviously the offensive line and injuries, you can't control injuries in the National Football League, but just from a scheme on the offensive side of the ball, what just kind of steps out at you that that has to be fixed and cleaned up going into week 4 of the NFL?
Well, and you guys have, anybody out there, fans and everything that sees the Come Get Some show that my son and I do, I've talked about these type of things. I'm going to simplify it as much as I can. Good quarterbacks doing their job, staying on time and being earlier on your release point, understanding where your plant feet are in the pocket and climbing the pocket, assists and helps offensive line that have inexperience, that have lack of talent, is that the quarterback controls that. And the biggest thing is I've seen a little bit of improvement week to week, but Sean has to stay on time, And you can't do that improvising stuff, especially with the injuries that he's fought through and all that type of thing. Stay on time. Be able to run the football and take your calculated shots down the field when you have a one-on-one type defense that's out there, and you can max protect with more play action pass and all that. Kevin does a good job with that. And you have to stay on time with 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Don't hold the ball when it's a read between 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. The number one thing that we did when I became the head coach here is that Baker Mayfield learned how to stay on time. And our first discussion when I became the head coach is that you need to understand, get rid of the football. And he did. And we went from being dead last in the league and sacks allowed and hits allowed on the quarterback to where we only gave up in 8 games, 2 sacks and 7 hits on the quarterback, because Baker learned how to do what Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Joe Montana, Warren Moon, all the legendary quarterbacks I've coached against, Jim Kelly. Jim Kelly made all those great offensive linemen up there better because he got rid of the ball too. Deshaun's holding the ball too long, and that's the number one thing that has to be corrected.
And not only is he holding the ball, I mean, yes, that's the core of it, right? And I understand that the offensive line has its troubles right now, the inconsistencies. It's week 3, and we've got Joel Bitonio at left tackle. I know things aren't the way that they anticipated it to go so far in terms of the offensive line. But looking at the offense as a whole, obviously you don't have Nick Chubb out there. That changes things a lot. Nick, he's a great player, but do you think his greatness was really the mask of some of these issues, or are they just it's just one big ugly mess right now?
Well, the big thing is that, again, commitment to running the football, commitment to the type of runs that your offensive line can do. Okay. And it's not just, it doesn't have to just be one-on-one base blocking. You can do a lot of angle blocking, pulls of people to give you the correct angles and press downhill. And they got the backs they have are tough. They can be able to do that. And when Nick comes back, Nick has that special skill that now, if you're just a one-on-one tackler, he can bust you and bruise you and knock you over, or he can also make you whip. Some of the guys that are still there right now have a tough time running NFL defenders over and trucking them. But that identity and that attitude carries over throughout the whole team. And 10-play drive, 12-play drive, 16-play drives, those type of things. When you're possessing the ball, you're not turning it over on offense, allowing a takeaway on defense. Okay, those type of things limit the times that another team can have the ball to put points up on the board for you. And those are the things that have to be done, is more situational awareness. Okay, running the football, establishing the line of scrimmage, not turning the ball over on offense. Okay, and getting yourself in more created third down, shorter situations instead of always being in 1st and 10 incompletion, 2nd and 10 incompletion, and now you're in 3rd and 10, and you got to have a difficult play to beat the sticks on a 3rd and 10.
Yeah, points well taken. That's what you got.
Let me ask you this, Coach. So you brought up a very good point when you coached Baker Mayfield, and he was getting sacked multiple times prior to you becoming the head coach. What would be your advice to Deshaun? Like you said, as soon as you became the head coach and you said, you need to get rid of that ball quicker, and the sacks went drastically declining. If you were giving Deshaun advice and you were in that quarterback room, because guess what? You played quarterback. So I feel like you can have a good sense of that. What would you tell to Deshaun based on your eyeball test and what's happening so far? Like you said, he is progressing, but what would be your advice to him?
One of the best things I've ever seen is that you learn something from everybody. And when we were at the Saints, I learned a ton of watching Drew Brees practice every day, watching Drew Brees get into the building at 5 o'clock in the morning. And the first hour, all he did was watch his practice film to see where his plant foot was, see where his ability to climb the pocket was, and be timing, before we got all of it on the video, timing exactly his release time on how long he was holding the ball, because those are the things you have to do. It doesn't happen on game day unless you do it every single day of walkthrough, every single day of practice. And one of the things that we did here is that we put a timing mechanism and a horn on in practice so that Baker and the offensive lineman and everybody could feel that when it got above 2.3 seconds and he still had to hold the ball, a horn went off. Hey, can you hold the ball longer? Yes, when it's 7 and 8 man protection and it's now a play action pass. But when it's drop back and you're in 5 or 6 man protections, you better understand you as the quarterback are responsible for any free runner that the defense has coming at you. And you as the quarterback are responsible for setting up the rush path that any defensive lineman or blitzer has in the protection by being able to climb the pocket and get away.
Turning it over to the defense, I think that this is a good defense. They got a lot of skill at every level of the defense. I think Denzel Ward's playing very well. Myles Garrett, obviously, we know who he is. JOK, he's been good. Had a couple of missed tackles last week, but overall, great player. What do you take away from this defense? Do you think they're headed in the right direction? Do you like what you see? What are your overall thoughts?
Yes, I do. I think they're headed in the right direction. They're only going to get better day by day by day. And Jim Schwartz has his philosophy our philosophy that we've grown throughout the years is that they will get better and better and better and better each day, each practice, each rep, because I'm not going to slow you down mentally with unnecessary thoughts in my head. It's about getting off the ball. It's about having contact. It's about running to the ball, and take a look at the effort, that the different types of effort that you see on the field, be it offense, defense, or special teams. Those are the two things that I, as a coach, can affect the most, is your effort and your toughness. Because if you don't play with supreme, maximum effort and maximum toughness, then you become a beer seller during the stands, up in the stands in the game, because I'm not playing you.
Yep. Coach, I will go ahead, Dustin.
I was going to say, we'll get you out on this. Tell everybody where they can find you on your show, and tell them about the exciting new stuff you're doing.
Well, here's what I would like for you to do, is I would like for you to turn that over to Blake and let Blake talk about the show, and let Blake talk about what's going to start going on Thursday Night Football and everything.
And so, yeah, turn it over to the real head coach. I thought we ran out of like tape,
You're a pain in my ass.
I was sitting over there. I was like, oh no. She just asked him about leadership, and we're in a bourbon distillery. This may pedal downhill real fast. Good thing he's drinking Diet Coke.
I know. Something stupid.
But no, we've got really cool thing, starting, here on Thursday Night Football. So starting this week, tomorrow night, down at the Barley House, Cleveland, in the Grotto. They've been gracious enough to give us, kind of full reign of the place and do big time, watch parties and live simulcast. And so we'll have the camera, the whole setup, and the simulcast set up from the kind of the inner sanctum back in the Grotto, and doing this combination between, not just a Manning cast, but in this really cool novel environment where you have this nightclub environment, hundreds of people in there doing that sort of thing. But then, and now you're back in this inner sanctum, cigars, bourbon, watching ball,
Smoking people
out, but talking other things, right? Talking
Asking
ball,
questions.
asking questions about the Browns or the game, or just other organic stuff that comes up, and try to produce a really cool live event, but then a really cool piece of content as well too for people that can't be there. That's a little bit different from. We've seen the Barstool simulcast. We've seen the Manning simulcast, but nothing quite like this. And so it's starting tomorrow night, Thursday Night Football, at Barley House in Grotto, Cleveland. And the idea is to keep doing that every Thursday night. And hopefully, the Browns can get things turned around, as we've talked about, because the Steelers come to town on Thursday Night Football in November. If we get this thing built up pretty big down there, that could be a very big, huge simulcast and block party. Shut the whole block down, for that game. But we got to get chasing them in the win column. Yeah.
This, and one other thing too is you want to tell them about the Hall of Framers, the big thing there. Okay,
Yep.
We'll do that later.
Yep.
And then also, where can they find your show? Come get some.
You can find it on really the big thing. The easiest way to do it is we've got our Big Play app now, and so iOS, Roku TV, Android, Apple TV, and Bally's. But download the Big Play app. That's where all of our stuff sits and our interviews sit. But you can find us on all social media: Twitter, IG, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. The simulcast will be going, live via all those platforms, YouTube, and Twitter, and our streaming app, Big Play streaming app.
And what day do you release your show every week?
We release the show. The show goes on Bally's on Tuesday, and then replays about 5 or 6 times throughout the week. The TV show. Now the Thursday Night Football will go out, and we are getting ready to probably start another live simulcast show. Now that we've kind of gotten blessed to do. You see all the stuff that's going on now with the kind of being able to use, at least if you're doing it on YouTube, because of the new partnership, right, with them getting Sunday Ticket. And so you see all the Bill Belichick's or Peyton Manning's, Chris Long's of the world. Everybody's using, being able to use the All-22 film on YouTube and
John Gruden,
John Gruden, and do kind of coaching, kind of segments off of the film. I think G-Dub and I are going to start doing that too, maybe on Tuesdays, and try to review not just Browns film, but go throughout the entire league, and actually show, clips and why this happened, what this means,
That's awesome.
all those type of things.
Yes, yes, we will put that in the chat. We've got a couple of questions here. We'll put that in the chat. I know people are eager to see that. I'm eager to see that. Just learn a little bit. You guys got me all pumped up, motivated. This has been great, and we appreciate it so much. I will put in the comments where to find their show. James, we'll put that in there because it sounds pretty cool. Sounds pretty cool to me. But Dustin, what else you got? Anything else?
No, I think, Ali, we can do the medical minute now. We got a lot of injuries to talk about.
Oh yeah, maybe a medical half hour.
Medical 3
We
weeks.
may get more live updates as we're doing the medical minute that more people have been injured.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Alex.
All right, let's go ahead and move over to the medical minute. This is going to be brought to you by our friends over at Lorello Vineyards.
Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Woof, woof.
Hello, welcome to Lorello Vineyards, Larry and Kim Lorello. We have a beautiful Here We Go Brownies wine that we would like to offer to you this season as we did last season. We have several other award-winning wines, lovely entertainment and events coming this summer. So come and see us, wine a bit, you'll feel better.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you at the Muni lot this fall. Go Browns.
All right, let's bring him on. Dr. David Ullery to the program. David, what's going on? How we feeling?
Allie and Dustin feeling good. A little anxious about this hurricane coming through, but otherwise feeling very good.
Yeah, that's why I have this beer, because right before we went on, I was feeling the pressure. We got the show coming on. I'm on the phone. I'm doing some work. We got the hurricane coming. We're traveling tomorrow. So he's like, "Do you want a beer?" And I said, "Yeah, I need a beer. I need a beer today."
So are you going to be okay where you guys are at?
Yeah. Well, we're actually not going to be here. Our initial plan was we're supposed to be in Ohio tomorrow. Well, we will be in Ohio tomorrow to get our marriage license. So we were going to be flying out of Destin. Yes, it's very important. We were going to be flying out of Destin, but that's not going to happen. So we are throwing all the dogs in the car and.
Oh my gosh. You're gonna oh my god, well there you go, that'll be fun.
Well, so obviously we were going to have somebody watch the dogs, but they have such anxiety. We just feel better if we can take them with us, because we're definitely going to feel the storm here.
Is that a 12-hour drive?
Yeah,
12 hours. So you can obviously spend the night somewhere along the way and then the next day going.
No, we're not. We're going all the way. Yeah, because I have to be there first thing Friday morning. So.
Oh, to do the marriage certificate?
Yeah, we got some appointments we've got to make. So
Okay.
yeah,
And that's in Columbus.
Yes.
You have to do that in Columbus or wherever you're being married,
Yeah,
whatever county you're being married in, I'm assuming.
That's correct. But yeah,
David, we can have a whole show if you want to. I think now going forward, we should just have the Dr. Ullery.
He could have his own podcast, honestly.
I mean, and strictly just for the Browns. I don't even need to do it for any other team in the NFL. The Browns keep providing plenty of content to podcast on with injuries.
So with that, David, I'm not even going to ask you what you want to talk about, because we just got to talk about it. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Just roll on through.
Yeah, probably the one that's most impactful or most important that's new would be Wyatt Teller. He unfortunately was injured in the game on Sunday. I don't know if everybody saw it or not, but he was rolled up by Dewan. It was on a kick attempt. He was playing over at right guard, and Dewan got pushed back into him, rolled up on him, and kind of bent his knee the wrong way. We're all too familiar with knees going the wrong way with this team, unfortunately. And it turns out he sprained his MCL. The MCL is the medial collateral ligament of the knee. It's the ligament on the inside of the knee that prevents your knee from going out this way or bending to the side. And so, fairly common in football players, especially linemen. They get rolled up on all the time. And so you can see it get injured. It sounds like it was injured in isolation, meaning no other ligaments were injured. So overall, it's good news. These typically will heal on their own. But as we've seen, he was placed on the IR. So he's out for at least 4 weeks. So what that tells me is this is probably a grade 2, if not a grade 3 injury. These are graded on a scale of 1 to 3, 1 being a partial tear or just kind of a sprain with very minimal tearing. 2 is a partial tear, and 3 would be a complete tear. What we know is that typically with grade 2 injuries, these usually can return to play after 2 to 4 weeks. A grade 3 injury, which is a little bit more higher severity, typically 4 to 8 weeks. So he's probably somewhere borderline between a grade 2 and a grade 3. The good news currently is it doesn't seem to be surgical. They're not saying he's going to need surgery. They say that he should return. So hopefully end of October, early November, we can see him off the IR and back on the field. But certainly that plays a big role in the shuffling of the offensive line. And it's not great, especially based on how things went Sunday.
Yeah, definitely. And then, like I said, it was when we were talking to Coach Gregg Williams there, it's now going into week 4, and we had Joel Bitonio at left tackle. We saw Jed went down. It's just offensive line musical chairs every single season, it seems.
Yeah. And Allie and I, we were talking about this on Sunday. It gets really hard to create any sort of chemistry, momentum, or rhythm between the players amongst the group. I mean, the offensive line plays as a unit. Sure, it's 5 individual positions or interior and tackles, however you want to look at it. At the end of the day, they play as a unit. It's a 5-man group. I mean, when they go through training camp, especially in college, but in the pros too, these guys, I mean, they eat together, they sleep together, they breathe together. Like, these guys are a single unit. And so not having that cohesion and that regularity, it's really difficult. I mean, the center is the quarterback of the offensive line, and they're the one kind of calling out the coverages, calling out blitzes, saying, which way we got to slide or where we got to protect. And, just like a quarterback's cadence, these guys have particular signals, particular ways that they talk and speak to each other. And when you don't have that chemistry and that cohesion that you get to experience it throughout the season, that's how things get missed. That's how calls get missed. That's how plays get missed. That's how coverages get missed. And so it really makes it difficult to have consistent offensive line play to protect your skilled players, to protect Deshaun back there when all these injuries occur. I mean, just to kind of, speak towards the level of injury that we have here. Mary Kay tweeted out 7 hours ago, the Browns have signed tackle Jermaine Ifedi to the roster from the practice squad, signed tackle Sebastian Gutierrez, and tackle Ricky Lee III. I mean, how many people can say they've heard of any of those guys? And here we are signing them to the active roster because we have the Browns have no other options right now.
Tough.
Yeah.
Tough. It is week 4 in the NFL.
Question, David. A lot has been made of the MRIs and stuff that obviously we know how tough Myles Garrett is as a player. It sounds like he's got 3 different issues going on, and he said it's a little more difficult than that, and he didn't want to really elaborate in the press conference. But it seems like it's just one of those things that he's just going to have to play through, and whatever's going on with his feet or whatever, based on what you're seeing through the tea leaves, what's being put out there, at least from the organization. What's your thoughts on kind of what Myles is dealing with? And is that something that he technically can play through with some rest, taking practices off? We know he took some practices off this week and didn't play out there, but just want to get your opinion on that. Is that something that he can kind of weather through the season? And, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a little interesting to try and figure out or kind of read between the lines in terms of what is going on with Myles. They mentioned it even before last week's or before Sunday's game that he's got some lingering feet issues that seem to be potentially from a procedure he had as a child or even a baby, and so I don't have a great explanation for it. I don't like to speculate on it too much. I mean, one thought that crept in my head could be he could have had a condition called clubfoot when you're a toddler, or I guess a baby, I should say, which is just it's the packaging problem. When you're packaged in the uterus, your feet are bent the wrong way, and so they come out, and your feet kind of look like clubs, like golf clubs. And so what you end up doing is going through a series of casts and splints as an infant, and ultimately the very last step is to have a surgery to release a tight ligament or a tight tendon. Could it be a downstream effect of that? I mean, yeah, I guess potentially. He had an MRI done, and for the internet, the MRI came back clean, and so there really isn't any acute injury or inflammation necessarily that's going on. And so what it sounds like to me is it's more of a structural problem that probably causes some fatigue and pain in his feet, and it's something that maybe inserts or stretching or taping isn't really going to correct long term. And so there was some sort of suggestion of a procedure in the off season or when time allows to correct this. Again, I don't know. He isn't revealing all the specific details, and we don't have access to all the information. But it sounds like it's compounded with an Achilles injury and now a thigh injury as well. And so you're adding layers on layers of injuries. And when you have a one injury, you tend to compensate. And he said that in his press conference itself, he's kind of compensating and compressing. And so it's leading to these downstream effects where I mean, think about it. If you roll your ankle, you're going to walk on that ankle less and walk on the other leg more. And if that happens repeatedly over a season or over a lifetime or a career, it's going to have lingering or long-lasting effects on that leg that you're utilizing more, just because it's taken more of the pressure, more of the brunt of the weight, just a lot of different things. And so you're going to see him limited in practice a lot, I think, while he's battling through this. And I think that's okay. I think it sounds like something that he can kind of recover throughout the week from and then get back to playing. But he's also, as you said, kind of a freak, kind of a superhuman, and can really play through a lot more pain than I think most people can or will tolerate. And so it sounds like it might be a season-long problem where it comes and goes, kind of waxes and wanes, but hopefully he can at least get the Achilles and thigh problem healed up so that it's just the feet that are an issue. But I think we're going to hear about it most of this season, I would anticipate.
Yeah. Real quick, want to tell you about our friends over at Hartville Marketplace and Flea Market. Guys, on the inside, 3 acres of indoor shopping, over 50 unique shops. It is fully heated and air conditioned. So you can go any time of the year or head outside to over 12 acres of a collector's paradise, over 1,000 vendors. And they are open Mondays, Fridays, and Saturdays year round. So please be sure to go check them out. Let's talk about David Njoku, who he hasn't confirmed yet to play on Sunday, but looking a little bit more optimistic coming off of that high ankle sprain. Do you think it is possible that we see him? Because I mean, honestly, David, when we look at this team, they're missing a lot, obviously, but one being the safety net, and that's David Njoku, who's been pretty consistent, no matter who the quarterback is, as kind of a relief valve and a safety net. So really important to get him back. Similarly, like Nick Chubb, these are your core pieces. You think if we do see him back this week, probably expect to see him on a pitch count?
Yeah, I think we can. I think there's some room for hope or optimism that he's going to play this week. But I think you're exactly right. I think if he does, he's going to split a little bit more with Akins than he normally would, and maybe see him, more in a limited role, more in a passing type situation, and maybe not as much blocking where there's a higher risk of injury. Just because, yes, it's important we get him back just to have another weapon, but also we got to think about longevity and protecting these guys for the rest of the season. I mean, this is the same injury that Patrick Mahomes had in the 2022 season during the playoffs, and he made it the whole way, and they won the Super Bowl, and he was able to play through it. And so these aren't necessarily season-ending injuries, depending on the severity of them, because they can even be quite severe, and you can still play on them, even if it's just playing through some pain. And so I definitely think that there's a good chance we could at least see him out there for some amount of time on the field, even if it is in a limited role.
Oh, man. I feel like we could just go on and on and on and on. Who else we need to talk about?
Well, this has been an ongoing conversation, but just of note, at least today, Jack Conklin still has not practiced because of that hamstring injury. And so while we deal with the news of Teller being on the IR for 4 weeks, we still have to also battle our tackles still being injured and not at their full potential. Along with that, Jedrick Wills also did not practice. And so you hope that these are rest days more than they are injury-related days. But at this point, I am not holding out hope to think that these are just so that they can rest, because these guys need reps, these guys need practice, and they're not getting it right now.
No, and it's clear, it's evident that one of the reasons for all of the dysfunction surrounding this team right now is just a lack of chemistry, a lack of reps, a lack of just a lot of things, and not having those real-time reps and being available during not only this part of the season, but into the preseason as well has made such a big impact on what this offense is currently. Is that Jiffy? Does he need to say something?
Yeah, he, the minute I came on, he decided to make an appearance. So I'm just battling him this whole time. I guess one other player just to touch on is Jerome Ford. He did not practice today, and neither did Pierre Strong. And so already weak or already lacking depth at running back in practice today. That continues. There isn't much out there beyond it's just a knee injury. It's not really clear if it's going to be enough to keep him out of the game against Las Vegas this week. Hopefully today is just a bit of a rest day, kind of let him heal and recover, and it's just more of a precautionary thing, but just something to keep an eye on with the running back room. Jerome Ford did not practice today.
Now, I know we did talk about Myles Garrett, but I want to bring this back up real quick. Our friend James here in the comments. What do you make of him, playing injured, admires his heart, but wants him to take a little bit of time to rest? Do you think that if he did take a couple of weeks to rest, that would make an impact down the stretch of the season? Or is this just something that's kind of probably be a lingering thing all season and just kind of deal with it?
Yeah, I think from an Achilles and thigh standpoint, he probably has a thigh contusion. His Achilles probably got some also bruising or even some tendonitis, kind of like CMC, although obviously not as severe. Those things certainly with time off would heal. Those are soft tissue injuries that can be played through if they're not too severe. So that's kind of those are really case by case basis. When it comes to the foot problem, again, I don't know specifically what it is, but again, the MRIs came back clear. So I'm guessing it's some sort of more structural issue than it is an acute injury. And so that may be he always has pain and there's no way that time's going to heal it. And so if it's not something where playing through it's going to make it worse, it's not like, the end of the world to keep playing on it. But I totally understand the concern there. I mean, we definitely would rather have him down the stretch if there's going to be potential for divisional or playoff implications. And, missing him short term on the front end to have him long term on the back end is definitely the right decision to make. But I think, if, there's always the players' desires and intentions to say they're going to play through pain and injuries, but then the coaching and the medical staff's decision making. And so if it's truly something that's going to potentially worsen or become catastrophic, if he continues to play through it, at the end of the day, they have every right to hold him out of the game and tell him he's not playing. And so, it may just be kind of his stubbornness or his just drive. But I think at the end of the day that you can hopefully rely on the coaches and the player to make the right decision if it's going to have a long-term impact on his ability to keep playing.
Oh, brother. This is fun to talk about week 4, isn't it, David? I know we've kept you busy the last two seasons so far and into this season.
Well, it was the perfect time to start this segment, I guess.
Yes, it really.
We'll have a celebration when Nick Chubb comes back that we can take him off of that list.
That's right.
Of the injuries, and because I think we've been talking ad nauseum about Nick Chubb, but it'll be nice to not talk about Nick Chubb and more in a healthy aspect instead of being on the bench. So
Absolutely.
All right, David, we appreciate it. Thank you for joining. Go Browns.
Go Browns. Thanks, guys.
That is Dr. David Ullery. We want to give a shout out to our friends over at Believeland Landscaping, snow removal, and pressure washing. Guys, they can transform your outdoor space into a breathtaking oasis. They serve the Northeast Ohio area, and they've been doing that for over 4 years. So we know winter is coming. Be sure to go check them out for your snow removal as well as your landscaping and pressure washing needs. Dustin, why don't you tell our listeners about our friends over at City Barbecue?
City Barbecue, guys, today they have their 25th anniversary special, if you can believe that. It was throwback pricing today, full slab of ribs, $19.99, and they had pulled pork, smoked sausage, or turkey for $4.95. But that doesn't mean you can't go any other day. 6 Northeast Ohio locations to serve you. City Barbecue, it's amazing. I love barbecue. Who doesn't love barbecue? But you can do some party packs for your game days on Saturday for that big college game, if it's Ohio State or whatever team that you're rooting for on Saturday, maybe in Boise State. Or Sunday when you're rooting on your Browns or whatever your NFL team. But Al, you know what I'm really excited about? Boise State Broncos cracked the top 25. They're in the top 25. They are going to be a force to be reckoned with.
We're going to be having some conversations this offseason about that running back and how he may be a good fit for this team. So more to come on that. Yeah. Before we turn it over to the NFL, I want to give a shout out to our friends at Golf. So, guys, this is where golf becomes inclusive. It's golf for everybody of all sizes and ages, no matter your skill level. Whether you are Tiger Woods himself or you're just picking up golf for the first time, you can head on over to 5 Iron Golf, join in on one of their bays. You can play different courses, get some drinks, get some food, do it all. It's an inclusive way to enjoy the game. Okay.
What's really cool about that, Allie, every Wednesday night is ladies' night, free 5 to 8 p.m. for ladies. If you bring a gentleman with you, you're both half off at that point, right? 50% off. And then any day, any time of the day, if you use code Brownie40, that's right, Brownie40, you get 40% off your hourly rental there. So it's like half off. So why wouldn't you go play golf and enjoy that? And, as much as we hate to say it, winter will be here soon. You can't be on the golf course anymore. So what do you got to do, Allie? You got to go indoors and work on that game. And what a better time to go to 5 Iron Golf in downtown Cleveland.
Yeah, that's true. That's what you got to do. Okay, let's turn it over to the NFL. We've got some things to talk about that happened this past week. And, of course, we are going to go through our games. Let's just kick it off with what happened in the NFL this past week. Sam Darnold Who would have thought 17 to 20 for 4
The
touchdowns?
reincarnation of Sam. I'm telling you.
Tell you what.
Hey, you ready for this? I don't know if this is a hot take. Sam Darnold is going to the playoffs. Sam Darnold is going to the playoffs.
I don't think that's a hot take. No. I think that is, well, it's a little steamy, but I wouldn't say it's hot.
But Sam Darnold.
If the Vikings were in the AFC, I'd say that's a hot take. But NFC, they've got a little bit of a path there.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels, he went 21 of 23 for 254, 2 touchdowns. I mean, he looked awesome. He completed 91% of his passes. Andy Dalton, which I think a lot of us probably forgot that he was still an active player. I thought he retired. He had a resurgence here, 26 of 38, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Aaron Rodgers looked pretty good. He looked great, 27 of 35, 2 touchdowns. But we've got to talk about the AFC North. The Ravens beat Dallas. So we have no idea who the Dallas Cowboys are. Not a clue. Pittsburgh is 3-0. I mean, at this point, you cannot play Russell Wilson when he's available. You have to stick with Justin Fields, who's been playing really good.
Here's a great thing. We talked about, would we see Justin Fields by the bye week? Well, screw that. He's playing. He's the starter. I don't think you bench him unless you have a reason to bench him.
Yeah. Yes, it would be funny if the Panthers beat the Bengals this week. I wouldn't put it past them. Something's not right with this Bengals team. Something is not right. And then speaking of the Bengals, they are 0-3, which is not a place you want to be. Similarly to the Browns, I think that they have a leadership problem. They have an identity crisis. Their head coach needs to stop being a coordinator and being a head coach. I think that you can lump Browns fans and Cincinnati fans into the same category here. We've got some things going on, and it's just not right. These are two teams that certainly are better than their record shows. So that's interesting. But don't get me wrong, as a Browns fan, I'm happy to see that they are 0-3 currently. So let's go around the league as we look ahead to this upcoming week. You ready to get into it, Dustin? We tied. Yes.
So what is the record now? Is it
I'm 1-0-2. You are 0-1-2.
So I could literally tie it up with a win this week. All right. So I got to be a little strategic here. Okay, right? It could be 1-1-2, right?
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Okay, starting tomorrow, the Cowboys are at the New York Football Giants. What do you got?
Okay, the Giants are a bad football team, and we should have never lost to them. I think the Cowboys have too much talent, and they bounce back.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. Cowboys win this game. Bengals at Panthers.
Bengals, man, Panthers are playing good football. I just, you know what?
They played good football last week. We'll see if that continues.
All right, you know what? I'm going to take the Bengals.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think they're just too well. I mean, there's too many skilled players on that team, and I think they're kind of in a must-win situation now, being 0-3. I'm going to go with
They're pissed. They know they have to. And they're going to. I think they bounce back. Saints at Falcons.
I'm gonna go Falcons here. Actually, I think Falcons in the noise crowd. Close game. I'm going Falcons.
Yep. Kamara is dealing with an injury. I think the Saints are getting back down to earth. Give me the Falcons here also. Jags at Texans.
Texans.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Texans here.
The Jags are hot garbage.
Yeah, they're not good. They're really not good. Broncos at Jets.
Jets. Just because I see a lot from Aaron Rodgers that looks good.
Yeah, and I don't think the Broncos can win back-to-back weeks. This is interesting. Vikings at Packers.
Jordan Love, is he back? No?
It is possible, but it is not confirmed one way or another.
I got to go Packers just because they're at home in a squeaker.
I don't know. Do the Vikings do it again?
They might.
I'm gonna take the Packers. I'm gonna take the Vikings. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna ride the hype train here, and I'm gonna take the Vikings. But I do agree with you that if Jordan Love is back, the outcome will likely be different, especially at home. Steelers at Colts.
I think this is where the Steelers come down to earth and the Colts win it all.
Mm-hmm. Hate to say it, but I am going to take the Steelers here. I don't know why. not in on the Colts right now. Give me the Steelers. Rams at Bears.
Rams.
Yeah,
I got to
that
tell you, the Rams played one hell of a football game against
was
those.
crazy, wasn't it?
Well, but that was and by the way, there's been a lot made of this. I don't know if you saw that, Allie, but there was a crap ton of Niners fans in that stadium. Like it looked like a 49ers home game in LA. So the Rams basically, they don't have home field advantage. I mean, I know the NFL wants to be in LA. I get it, all that crap. But a lot of times, like myself, Browns fans go to LA because it's a good time and a great stadium. But I think, I think the Rams are the real deal. They're playing some tough football.
This is a team that I think is better than their record in the Rams. And this Bears team has some good pieces. It's a matter of can both teams put it together. I think that this is probably the hardest one out of all of them so far that we've had to mention. I'm going to take the Rams, but I think this will also be kind of a tough game. Eagles at Bucks.
Eagles are tough right now. I like
Give me the Buccaneers.
Oh, you're gonna doubt my Kellen Moore as offensive coordinator?
Yes, I am. I'm definitely going to do that. Patriots at 49ers.
49ers. They bounce back.
Niners definitely. Commanders at Cardinals. Two feisty, scrappy teams.
Cardinals are kind of like on fire right now a little bit. They're sneaky good. I'm gonna go Cardinals at home.
I'm gonna go with the Cardinals at home. Yeah, I think if this was in Washington, I'd probably give them the nod, but at home, give me the Cardinals, especially the Commanders coming off of a really big win over Cincinnati. Chiefs at Chargers.
You know, this is gonna be my upset of the week. The Chargers. The Chargers pull out the upset at home.
All right, I'm gonna take the Chiefs. But I would not be surprised if you are correct here. Browns at Raiders.
I got to go Browns. This is a must win. I think the defense is going to come inspired. They're going to get some turnovers. And more importantly, why I'm taking this game, I don't know if you remember, but Myles Garrett had a hell of a football game against Gardner Minshew last year, and they have not benched Gardner Minshew yet. So let's have some Myles Garrett coming out party in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I think so. Bills at Ravens. This is going to be such a good football game.
Screw the Ravens. Bills are the real deal. This football team is scary to me. They're playing with confidence. They have that swagger like the Chiefs do at times now, or have in the past. Give me the Bills on the road to beat the Raiders. And by the way, if the Raiders can go into freaking Baltimore, sure as hell can the Bills go in there. Give me the Bills.
Oh, man, on prime time, I think this is going to be high scoring. I like the Ravens defense better than the Bills defense. It's a matter of which offense do I like better. I don't think either team has elite receivers. I think they both can run the football. Man, I'm going to go with the Ravens. I think this is where the Bills are upset here. Actually, I don't know if it's upset, but I think the Bills lose. Give me the Ravens. Yeah, give me the Ravens. But I think it's gonna be a ton of fun in this football game. Titans at Dolphins are Monday Night Football.
Who's the quarterback for the Dolphins?
It was Skylar Thompson, and then they brought in Tim Boyle. So
give me the Titans. The Miami Dolphins are a hot mess. Give me the Titans.
Give me the Titans. I agree. And then Monday night, Seahawks at Lions.
Okay. We had Sean Alexander on last night for the Stump Talk podcast. That was amazing. He was a great interview. Give me the Seahawks. Seahawks are the real deal right now.
So it's in Detroit, prime time.
Oh, sorry. It's in Detroit. Sorry.
It's in Detroit. I know. If this was in Seattle, I'd probably take.
Sorry. Pump up. Give me the Lions. Sorry.
I agree with that. Give me the Lions. Okay, that's what we got. Dustin, before we wrap, real quick, why don't you tell our listeners much pizza?
Yeah, Teresa's Pizza Guy. If you haven't had it, it's great. Check them out in Mayfield Heights, in University Heights since 1969. It's how we do pizza in Cleveland. Check them out. Great pizza. Great for your game day festivities. Great for your college game day festivities. But check them out. Teresa's Pizza. right here in the greater Cleveland area. But Allie, I am 48 hours from go time to Las Vegas, Nevada, hoping I see a win down there. This team's got to get it right. I'm going to leave our audience with this. Stump Mitchell said something very interesting last night on the podcast. These players need to look themselves in the mirror and figure out who they want to be for the rest of the season. They're 1-2. They got to figure it out. And I'm just hoping. He even said they need to have a players-only meeting. And I mean, it's week 4, but maybe it's time where these guys kind of just say the coaches aren't in this room, and the only ones that are going to win these games for us is us. Maybe it's time that they internally look in the mirror and say, who are we going to be? And we have a lot of aspirations this season. We need to go out and do it.
Yeah. Crazy to think it's going into week 4, and that's where we're at. But the good news is it's still so early. It's still so early. So much can happen this season. I don't think that we are, as fans, going to sit back the rest of the season and just watch an abysmal football team. I don't think that's going to happen.
Too much pride in these players. Right.
Yes. Now, I'm not saying, and I'm not comfortable saying that this is a deep playoff run team, let alone a playoff team from what I've seen yet. But I think we will see better football, and I think we get that on Sunday. I really do.
I agree with that too, and I hope so, because they need to be.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, Dustin, any closing thoughts as we wrap up on a beautiful Wednesday evening?
Let's get our guys healthy. Let's have a win on Sunday. Go Browns.
Go Browns. All right, thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, Browns fans, go Browns.